and I couldn't even tell you. It even could have been on a book, but I have like a mental image of what I imagined. But like they'll do, like a therapist will bring in like a hypnotist and like put them under to like get over like phobias and stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the big things.
Interesting.
So the idea of hypnotism is it's a relaxed state, but you're like ultra focused, which I think is just really cool. And then the people. So you're finally getting old. You're gonna have to get.
I think I'm aging.
You're
Yep.
getting the eye issues.
What age do you think like even people with good eyes have to kind of start, I don't know, wearing glasses and etc.?
According to my eye doctor, because I had LASIK done a couple years ago. Absolutely love it. Everyone should do LASIK, even if they're not eligible. Because it's a weird feeling. Like your eyes are open, but like it goes like
How many
black.
people do you think have panic attacks having LASIK?
Um, I was pretty nervous, and then they offered me like some like pills or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was like, no, I don't need that. And then like 5 minutes before, like I was
So
like
like
in the waiting.
relaxation pills?
Yeah, there were some, I think, nice drugs.
I probably,
Uh,
because I think, well, when I was getting my wisdom teeth removed, you've had your wisdom teeth removed, right?
I haven't. I
Okay.
got a
Okay.
big mouth, so
How does that apply?
well, I don't. They
Because
just like
don't you get them
fit.
removed because of the nerves?
Well, like my wisdom teeth have
Oh,
like
they
kind of
they
like
fit.
yeah,
What?
but they like slid
I
like
didn't need
right
mine
in.
removed, but I was there and they're like, you don't need them removed. But I got them removed, so I didn't have to go under. And that whole idea just scares me because, like, okay, yeah, when I'm having surgery, I still have no control over it. But the fact that, like, I'm at complete mercy of and have, like, no function
Yeah,
that
just
I know of.
drugged out.
It's just, no, I just don't like that.
Um, but yeah, I got like pretty nervous going into it, like in the waiting room because like with LASIK surgery they do like thousands and it takes like maybe a minute or 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So like they just had us in a
So
line
how,
like we were.
at what age do your eyes start to, like, decline again?
Um,
Even if you have like good eyes, like what's the age where you like start to go downhill, or is there not an age?
I think everyone at some point like they get like reading glasses or whatever.
Yeah.
Some people like get some just to drive, but I think it's like 40.
Oh. Well,
That's the end of the line.
so if I'm, hypothetically 16 years away from 40, probably not actually struggling with that. But I notice it's when I've had like a lot of caffeine that I think my eyesight gets worse.
That's
I don't know.
probably not healthy. It's,
Well, I just feel like I almost think it's like a hyper thing. Like I just get so much energy that like I can't focus almost. Maybe I should think about my life actions now.
well,
I could just be making this up and it's all just psychological.
it's just in your head. But I think it's officially fall.
Yes.
We got the NFL kicked off this week, and Starbucks had a fall drink deal, buy one get one after 12. So it worked out great for us because with our intermittent fasting, we kind of wait around. We hit like a wall at like 11 where like our productivity kind of stops.
Yeah. It's like hunger can no longer be curbed. Hunger is here.
It's just constantly in your head, just like I'm working, but then like I'm also hungry. So definitely my productivity sucks. But we take our dogs on a walk, and we look forward to that every day at 11:30 because when we get back,
It got moved up.
Yeah.
It used to be at like between probably noon and 1 we would walk the dogs, but with intermittent fasting we do 11:30.
Because when we get back,
We could eat.
we get it. Yeah. So,
Big wins.
Yeah, highlights of our day. But we got our Starbucks drink orders. I think what I had a pumpkin spice latte. You had a pumpkin cold foam thingy.
It was like a pumpkin chai iced thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Iced pumpkin chai latte. Probably something like that. With oat milk. Avi.
And we don't love Starbucks, but we go there pretty
Yeah,
often
like the
just
coffee,
because
the
like
coffee quality is low.
yeah.
I would much prefer to go to a small coffee place where like they roast their own beans because like
You're
the
trying
quality,
something new.
it's
And
just so much better.
sometimes it's good, sometimes it's a little risky, but I know like
How many coffee shops have we been to where like they
not often,
roast their
not
own
a ton.
their own beans and we're like,
Bad.
this is terrible.
Yeah. That's true. And we like to support local as much as we can. But
Yeah.
like when we're traveling, like the Atlanta airport.
And obviously
only
some of
has-
those places don't roast their own beans, but I think they usually source them from
and
like
they,
a more local
they're
place.
probably buying some of the nicer quality
Yeah.
stuff.
Where Starbucks, I'm sorry, but your bean quality just ain't it. Like it just could do better.
But just to the whole point of this, the fall stuff, it's just like a little tease before Christmas. I mean,
Why do you say that?
the flavors are just not as good.
Okay, so it's like just the
yeah,
quality.
they might
it's
as
just not
well
as good.
just go Christmas stuff, and people would be happier.
But you
Like,
got to do September. You got to get the fall vibes. You can't
Yeah.
just skip to winter. But I agree. The Christmas drinks, unmatched. Holiday drinks. Can't say Christmas.
they're just way
The
better.
holiday drinks are where it's at. I personally love the peppermint mocha. The last year you got the creme brulee or something.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. My dad got me, and they have it every year. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. But it's something where you're like, that's going to be weird.
But then it's better.
But
than
the
you
first
think.
year they had it, I could totally be making this up, but this is how it is in my memory, is, I don't know, my junior or senior year, they brought this drink on. My dad got it for me because he would usually go get us coffee. Thanks, Dad. We love you so much for that. But I remember being in English and I got it. We had like an after class thing for our AP English class. And I was like, I wonder if this is going to be good. And it was so good. So sometimes I debate between that and the peppermint mocha because
a long time ago.
it was. Yes, I know I'm old.
Getting old, eyesight's going bad, everything. But I guess even just going into that, kind of what I wanted to talk to you about today is the TV shows I've been watching. Just been grinding some HBO, and I don't watch a ton of TV, but this week been watching a lot more. You think I do, but it's always sports. Like we watched the U.S. Open. Probably gonna watch the U.S. Open today. The men's finals today.
The women's final yesterday was really good.
Yeah. It was fun.
I just love the speeches afterwards too, and just like the excitement because last year was two pretty young people too, and
I miss watching.
like if
Serena
Djokovic,
play.
that's who's playing, right?
Yeah,
If he wins, I mean he's won like a lot, so like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not as exciting.
he's like one of the best tennis players of all time. So
It's fun to watch, but it's like watching him win isn't like as cool as watching Coco win because like this was her first.
Yeah, her first one, and she's
Yeah.
19.
And it was on like her home soil, which was really cool because okay, anywho, get back to what you were saying.
But just the idea of like mind control or just like getting into like a state or a zone has just been pretty interesting for me the
So
last
what do you
couple of
mean-
days.
Do you mean like where someone is controlling you or getting yourself into a zone of like focus, of like deep focus?
Well, in these sci-fi TV shows, it was like mind control, but that's not like, kind of the big thing or like reality. But I've always thought hypnotists were really cool. When I think of it, I think of like the acting or whatever, like the controlling stuff. But just kind of like looking into it and like reading about it, there's a lot of medical benefits that they talk about. So I was just curious, have you ever been hypnotized?
Me, no. I've only watched people get hypnotized, I think once, possibly twice, but I'm pretty sure it was just once.
But I've never been hypnotized. I think it looks cool, but I mean, obviously, I'm not like searching out like, hey, let's go find a hypnotist, kind of thing. Now, there are people that do it, and I was looking. Some insurances cover it. It's about like 50.
Getting hypnotized?
Yeah, go into a hypnotist
Wait,
for
so
some therapy.
don't they do that? Okay, this is purely based on TV shows I've watched. And I couldn't even tell you, it even could have been on a book. But I have like a mental image of what I imagined. But like they'll do, like a therapist will bring in like a hypnotist and like put them under to like get over like phobias and stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the big things.
Interesting.
So the idea of hypnotism is it's a relaxed state, but you're like ultra focused, which I think is just really cool. And then the people that describe the sessions are just like, it was so relaxing, but it's almost like a hyper focus on like one thing. And then the medical benefits or like therapy, and it is a form of like psychiatry or whatever. So like that's why the people do it. But it can be used for weight loss, as like you almost like training your body, like, oh, I don't need to eat or like kind of thing. Pain.
So it kind of like puts these thoughts. Do you think it kind of changes your thought pattern? Because I'm reading 2 books right now, but one of them is talking about our ego, and like one of the chapters was kind of about the tracks that we have just repeating in our mind, and how intentional we have to be about those thoughts, and how hard it is to change the tracks. Like if we've been told something since we were a child, well, we can't change the track until we know we are aware of it, and we have to constantly be aware that that's being played in order to even try to make progress to changing it. And if something's been around, like a thought we've had for 15 years of our life that's just been constantly playing in our mind, I mean, it's going to take a lot of work to change that. So do you think because hypnotism is just that deep focus that it can almost give you kind of a jump start into changing that thought pattern?
Yeah, I think that would be something, because I know like they have some where like they'll go back and like you focus on like memories of the past, or like, I don't know, repeat some stuff of like, you don't need to do this. And then part of that is, I think it relates, when I was reading about it, it's the main cause is you don't focus on your conscious mind, and that's why you get it's called like heavy suggestive almost. So like when like a magician hypnotist is like, dance around like you're a monkey, like people will do that because they're not thinking about like, oh, people are going to judge me because I'm doing something that I would have thought would be goofy.
Yeah. That's really interesting, because thinking about it as like a form of therapy, if they can like change some of those kind of harsh memories that you have of like, I know something we've talked about that's pretty minor in the grand scheme of things is how if there's a word we don't know, we don't want to pronounce it. Like let's say we're at a restaurant and we're trying to order something, but we don't know how to pronounce that word. I usually just point to it.
Or like,
Because there was probably one time in school we were,
you get self-conscious about it, or like
you were trying to read it and then you said like a word wrong and you got made fun of. And so then you just learned like,
yeah, or just kids
not,
would laugh.
I should not say words that I don't know how to pronounce.
Which, like, I don't know if you did this in school, but like even up into high school, like the popcorn reading, like you would pick somebody.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That was not fun.
Like
and
like the constant like anxiety you'd have, because you'd just be like, okay, you knew what passages like were going to get read. So if you didn't get called, you'd be like reading the next one because you're like, do I know all these words? Okay,
Yeah.
yes, okay.
It would really stress people out. And then I know I would get bored and I would just want to be done. I would always read ahead because you're going through varying.
So then when you get called
yeah, you're like I don't know where we're at. But
Yeah.
but like some of the kids are struggling and like I know I was given books super young. Like I just like all that was what we did. We read books as kids. So all of me and my sister we read at a really high level, which is just so important for like school. Because you can just fall behind so quickly. And most people don't read at above like a 6th grade level.
Yeah.
Which is
Going
pretty
off that
low.
and just kind of continuing the conversation is back in the day. I mean, we read a lot as kids, but I struggled with reading. There was just some like words I don't know. I guess I didn't catch on to it as fast. And I eventually got to the point where I was a pretty advanced reader, but because I'd always been told like you're not a good reader,
you didn't like to or didn't like to tell
I just
people?
was like very self-conscious about it. Like I'm not a good reader, I'm not a good writer, because that's what I'd been told by some other people way back when. And like my mom, when she became my teacher, was like that's not true, like you're very smart. So she kind of pushed and tried to change that track, but it's hard when, especially at a young age, like you've got such key developmental stuff going on that, I mean, you're like, well, Linda said I was not good. So.
And then you have to work through that.
Yeah.
It just, everything slowly builds.
But like having someone put you kind of under to focus on a memory where you can alter the story a little bit, because at the end, like the past is a different perspective from everyone. Like we could have experienced the same exact moment, but have two very different stories from it, and that can kind of help you kind of change your viewpoint. Like, oh, like they may have said this, but let's reframe it a little bit to where
everything's different. And that's just kind of going back. I know like you can get in that relaxed state, being hypnotized, and like deal with like phobias and stuff, which like I don't have any like strong phobias. Like I don't like spiders like at all, but like I can like deal with them. I wouldn't call it a phobia. I don't think most people like spiders. I used to not like snakes, but
now you love snakes.
I think snakes are cool. So
now I think if given the opportunity to have a snake for like a week, you'd do it.
Oh, I don't know about that. It doesn't seem as
If
scary.
one of your dudes was like, hey, can you just watch my snakes for a weekend? You'd be like, sure.
Well, the people I watch on YouTube have venomous snakes, and no shot. We're not touching those.
But you would want to go look at them.
Yeah. But just like would you say you have any phobias?
One's very irrational, which is grasshoppers.
That is true.
And everyone has tried to tell me, Shannon, they like literally can't harm
like
you.
The most harmless
but
things.
I can't. Like I just can't with them.
What's that Disney movie? Is it like Ants
Oh
Life
my gosh.
or whatever?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Is that why you have that phobia?
No, I think this phobia started because of my dear sister Megan. Yeah. Well, we had a lot of grasshoppers in the good Motown, and she liked to collect them and create their own little habitats in a bunch of red Solo cups. So by the end of summer, there was probably like 100 red Solo cups with saran wrap and a few poked holes around them with dead grasshoppers.
So she was just murdering grasshoppers.
Pretty much, but she thought she was saving them. That was her goal, was to save them. I also think she did it to harass me. But Oh my gosh. I can remember one time Katie was probably not even a year old, and our cat had brought in a grasshopper, and I'm screaming bloody murder. My dad comes upstairs. He's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I was like, "There's a grasshopper." And I think my dad wanted to smack me. He was like, "Shannon, it's a grasshopper. It's not going to do anything to you, and your sister is sleeping."
You know, I've
Just
had
like
those
that.
moments with some bugs around our apartments where you've kind of been like, oh my gosh, it's a bug. Yeah, it's just a bug. It's not going to harm you.
There are some bugs I don't mind. Like spiders, don't mind spiders because they eat the other bugs. Now, like cockroaches, no.
Yeah.
Grasshoppers, mm-mm, nope. Like it gets my heart beating just thinking about, oh, nope.
Oh, yeah. I hate flies. Flies are probably my least favorite. But I guess looking at all of this, I don't think many people are going to go find a hypnotist. But it's kind of like piqued my interest because I know you like to do yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And you see all the time people doing like meditation and stuff.
Yeah.
But like just spending that extra time. And I don't think it has to be like a lot of time. But like
Just where you have that like
20,
deep
30
focus.
minutes of like say like meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I could definitely see the benefits of it. So maybe might look into trying that. We'll set up a little space in your closet.
What would be your goal with that?
I think for me it would be like being able to focus longer time on tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Um I think like I have like undiagnosed like ADD, or maybe that's just a little trendy, but I know I struggle more doing things like you can go and like, oh, I'm going to do this and like go at it for like an hour. And
Mm-hmm.
I think I struggle with that and I get distracted, and cell phones, notifications, different apps or anything, or just, you know,
Yeah.
but I feel like doing that could help me there.
Like just be able to have that deep focus.
Yeah.
Kind of like training your mind to be able to focus.
And that, you know, even if it's like a small benefit,
Yeah.
it could be nice.
Because like I like to use it because I think my mind is more like towards kind of being able to calm myself down when I work myself up for no apparent reason. So it just helps me with like the breath work and like becoming present. Cause so I usually will like build up this big old story of what I think is going to happen.
And it's
And
always
I'm
bad.
determined. Yeah, it's never good. It's like, like last year I was just freaking out because like, I don't, about taxes and everything. And I was just like, what if someone like, just random stories that I decide are true. And the deep work, like, and being that consciousness just helps me kind of calm down and bring me back to the present and be like, okay, yeah, nope, that's definitely something you made up. You've done this before. You've come up with these negative stories. You're 100% that they are true. They never are true. So let's bring it back.
But, so with this kind of like mind therapy, I guess that would be what it's called. But obviously, like, been watching a lot of college football, different stuff, and I look at these coaches,
Uh-huh.
and like to me, this might be like more disrespectful to a lot of like leaders and stuff, but like, these like coaches are like almost like commanding their like own armies of players.
Yeah.
And like these guys like Dion, where they just have that energy around them.
Yeah, where like
And
people are like, people want to be led by them.
yeah. And then like, because when I think about like battles like back in the day, not so much like when I look at like the Revolutionary War, like these guys were like fighting for their freedom. Like they had something to fight for, or I guess.
Yeah.
But when I think back to like Napoleon's time or like Alexander the Great, it was like these like peasant farmers that were like using just swords, no armor, whatever, and then they're getting told by this guy like we have to go fight these people for this land.
Yeah.
With like, I have been watching Game of Thrones too, so that might be part of it. But how were these guys able to convince this mass of people that like, hey, we don't really have like a key vision to fight for, but you fight for me? And I suppose you could say money and stuff, but like, I mean, most of these people were just going to their death.
Yeah.
And I just think that's like the psychology of like how these people are able to create this energy of like, let's go do this. Like, you will fight and die for me. And I think that's important in a team environment. So, you know, I didn't play any sports at like a college level, but in like high school, like I never had coaches that were like, you know, these like people that were like, you know, like, let's go, like a big team thing.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe I just didn't buy into it, but I don't think they helped their cause. Uh, but you know, like on your team, like, did you feel like any sort of like, oh my gosh, this is like, let's go do this, or even so, just like, what's kind of your mindset when you were like in a race rowing? That's not something I've ever done before, and I just think it's different because I know when you're doing like sports like swinging a golf club or like shooting a free throw, like your body goes into like almost like a focused mode where you're not thinking about it like, oh, my arm's here. Like, you're gonna go back to what
You instinctually.
your body
Yeah.
knows. And that's why it's like, yeah, you can do as like many drills as possible, but like, you get up there, you're gonna do what your body knows. So like, what was kind of the mindset when you were racing?
I think it was more doing it for the other people in the boat, not so much like, because rowing is a very, very painful sport from how your body feels during it. So it's not like, oh, we're about to have such a good time. Like, and it's very different. And kind of what I was telling you yesterday about watching tennis is there's not like that excitement where like you get a kill or whatever, where you're just like feel a lot of energy. Where in rowing, it was very much so like, I want to do this for everyone else in the boat. And so much more of like a team. Because, I mean, I've always played like a team sport, but not to the point where like in rowing, you were doing it for your team. Because there's no way in heck I'd want to do that just for myself.
Yeah. Well, just even thinking about that, like, what, there's like one moment of like gratitude when rowing, and that's like the finish line.
You're just like, oh, thank God. Like the one race that comes to my mind that was like a lot of excitement at the end was Big 12s after my sophomore year, I think it was. And you just felt like the energy in the boat was just so positive and everything. And we'd had a pretty good season. And that to me was like a moment where, you know, all the pain was worth it because you were with all these other women that were kind of building you up. And, you know, it's a very hard sport, and like you guys survived. So
Yeah. Now, when you were in the boat, obviously, like most people have seen like an erg machine. You know,
yeah.
it's the same thing. I mean, it looks very different. It looks kind of scary, especially when like the paddle goes into the water and like
Yeah.
gets stuck.
Yeah.
But what's going through your head within the race? Like, are you focused on your breathing? Are you just focused on listening to lady that's yelling?
So I usually sat in the middle of the boat, and my focus, I knew I was supposed to generate a lot of power. So I was focused on that, but also relax and super focused on the person in front of me, because I was like I was in the middle but towards the front. So I knew I needed to generate a lot of power, but I also could not, like, obviously no one can lose track of like
The other
the
people, because
person
you
in
have to
front of you,
work.
because you've got to work together. So it was just like focus on the person. But like those like smaller things, I don't think you can focus on, especially in like race moments, because you're counting that you've done the work prior to get you to this moment. So it's like, okay, relax, power, focus. Like that's it.
Now, like, that's like you have to, you're going like full strength or whatever for that like
Yeah.
length of time is 100%. But if like even just like one person is off by like a little bit, it creates so much like rubber banding of
Yeah.
you're not. So it's almost like so much of that is like in some sports you can hide your worst player,
Mm-hmm.
but if you don't have everyone in sync, that's gonna, you know, sink the boat, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I'm kind of surprised I haven't asked you about that sooner, but just like the overall like mindset dynamics of rowing is so different than a lot of other
Yeah.
sports.
It was
And
definitely something I had to work on too, because I mean, I was so used to doing like team sports in which, I mean, in a way you want to stand out, because I mean, in volleyball, you want to be the team that's better in a more visible way. But rowing, there's not that like visibility, like distinction. Like you're all doing the same exact movement. It's more of just like a power that you can't see visually. So yeah, it was interesting.
but competing in jiu-jitsu tournaments is such a different dynamic than like say like football, baseball, because like
Mm-hmm.
you have like these moments of like stopping or even just like other sport, but like you're constantly going.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought because when you're in practice, you don't like have that adrenaline and
Yeah.
like you can take so many more chances because like you're not, yeah, if you lose, like it's practice, you know.
Yeah.
But like getting into it, if like you do one thing wrong, like oh you lost, or you know you're put to sleep or like seriously get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like one of the things is like if I do this, I could get hurt, and
Yeah.
that's probably like the
And
weirdest.
there's no one around you to help like protect you in a way, because like in football, I mean, you could make a mistake that could potentially get you hurt, but you can count on other people around you to kind of have your back in a
Yeah.
sense.
So that like going from an individual to a team sport.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just to kind of get back on more focus. I mean, just kind of talking about the mindset of like what you're going for within the sport, but I think even just like taking that relaxation
Mm-hmm.
would just be so important
Yeah.
within I don't think that's focused on enough. It
Because I think you perform better when you are
relaxed.
relaxed.
And that's why there's people in sports that like they're considered like practice kings or queens, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like when they're in practice, there's like no pressure. They just do incredible. But like, you know, there's different players that like when they get into a game, they're able to perform at that same level, so they're just better.
Yeah. And going back to like the hypnosis kind of thought is like how people when they're hypnotized can do the monkey dance, but when they're not, like they would not even
Even consider it, yeah.
yeah, it would be an automatic no, like that's embarrassing. Where I mean, if you apply that to sports,
And
in practice, you're expected to let down a few times. You know, you can make a mistake, but that's why you're practicing. But in the game, it's like all on the line. And the thought, like, if I mess up, like, I'm letting everyone down.
Yeah. Or
and
letting yourself
being able
down.
to work through that. And I would agree. I think the mental game has become more of an emphasis in athletics than it has in the past. But I definitely think it's an area that will continue to grow because it's so important. Like, even our recent golf hobby, if I overthink it, like, I'm gonna have a terrible day. Or if I just, even if I like just don't feel like being there, I'm not gonna do very well because there's
You're-
not the relaxed effort behind it. I mean, and I think it needs both components.
Yeah. I know. I've seen like some of the worst 3-point shooters in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
You get them in practice, and they will like hit like 80%.
Yeah.
But you put them in a game, they're shooting like 20%.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that difference. But it also like it shows like that level. Like you have to be probably like an 80% shooter. Maybe that's a little optimistic, but like those guys can all play.
Yeah.
It's just different in games.
Yeah. And the mindset, like, you know, like some of the things where it's like what separates good from great. I mean, mindset and your ability to relax, have that like relaxed focus definitely is a key indicator.
So I guess just kind of wrap up, but you know, my recent interest in this might actually give it a shot. We can do some of like the influencer like life people, you know, they have meditation sessions. They wake up at 3 a.m. and they're
Oh, 4's early enough for this gal.
yeah. Yeah, those people
That
are
would get you
funny.
like, what, 2 hours of sleep?
Oh my gosh.
I think you'd have to change your sleep schedule for that one.
Turn into a vampire. Uh, but maybe try and include that into the schedule.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
Yeah,
I'll provide updates.
I think it would help you a lot in very many areas.
Yeah. But hope you liked the video today. Video or audio, I guess. We're not on Spotify video. We're not cool enough for that yet. But you know, like, subscribe, comment.
Dogs are joining us in this
yeah.
very moment. Hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your week. See you next week.